there is a massive crisis. Troy, you know, there is a massive crisis of affordability in this country, and healthcare is unaffordable. Childcare is unaffordable. Utility bills are unaffordable. Wages are too low, and the government needs to play a role in enabling people to overcome that unaffordability. We have to act collectively somehow to reduce the cost of living. We got to start this conversation in West Virginia starts with health insurance, because health costs are so crushing, so much higher in West Virginia. We're losing hospitals. We have a crisis that affects every West Virginian, regardless of your income. And so solving public health care is essential for every West Virginian. That's why this conversation has to happen now.
As we tape, it is 37 days into the government shutdown, the longest so far. And here in West Virginia, what that fight translates to, and this is a fight over whether or not the Republicans are going to allow us to expand or, continue the enhanced health subsidies, premium credits for the Affordable Care Act. Here in West Virginia, that's 60,000 West Virginians who don't get their health coverage through their job, Medicare or Medicaid, looking at a premium increase of 133%, according to the Center on Budget and Policy. And West Virginia has the highest rates in the country for insurance plans on healthcare.gov, with only 2 companies available. I joke, but it's not a joke. We do have, in places in West Virginia, the worst scenario of we have single payer, and it's for-profit single payer.
Yeah.
With that, the West Virginia legislature just finished up their few days of interims, during which time they did nothing, to my knowledge, to advance or fix any of the problems with the Public Employees Insurance Agency, the PEIA, which is constantly, people love PEIA, the people are on it, but it is always one of these budget problems, and the solutions that keep on coming forward are basically to privatize it or to make people pay more to get less. That's another 75,000 West Virginians or so. And today I'm pleased to be joined by Sam Petsonk, who is a labor and employment attorney. He is the second vice chair of the West Virginia State Executive Committee. Full disclosure, I am also an at-large member of that body, and he is our DNC committee person, male, for whatever that's worth. And he has a recent, I think he has a solution here that kind of brings together and puts, takes the power, would take the power out of Congress to really disempower West Virginians and raise our rates by inaction, and would put it back in more state control. And I think people like that. So the commentary article from West Virginia over at West Virginia Watch is where I saw it, is West Virginia needs PEIA for all. And the rest of the setup I'll give is the Public Employees Insurance Agency is a participant in the health insurance marketplace. It should act like one. And that's directly from Sam's essay. So first of all, Sam, thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Troy, for having me. It's good to be here with you. I appreciate the chance to talk with you here.
Likewise, I always, whether it's in a recorded format or not, I love talking with you.
Yeah.
So tell me about this plan. Tell me how this where it comes from, and how it would work and what solutions it would present for us.
Yeah, well, like you say, a lot of states, including West Virginia, are already in the business of providing health insurance to their employees. Public employees get insurance through their employer, which is the state of West Virginia. We have a massive public employee health plan here. Historically, it's been a very good plan. Over the last decade, since Republicans took over the legislature in West Virginia, they have cut away at this plan. They are against public benefits, and they're on the attack. We have seen the damage of privatization, and what we've privatized workers' compensation in West Virginia, which has been an absolute disaster for working people. Workers' comp is a shambles in West Virginia, and we cannot let that happen to public employee benefits. That's what the Republicans, if they're left to their own devices, their plan is whittle it away and kill it when it comes to public employee health care. And the public won't stand for that in West Virginia. The public employees demand decent benefits. And the way the Republicans have gutted our state budget, what I see as the most fiscally viable way to protect and improve these public employee benefits is to sell more of the insurance to a broader market. Now, public employee benefits are already available to some nonprofits and some non-governmental, non-state entities in West Virginia. What we need to do is charge viable, actuarially reasonable premiums and expand the sales of public health insurance so that we, like any insurance company, it's a risk spreading. That's what insurance is. You sell premiums over a broad population. The healthy people pay for premiums until they get sick, and then they get some benefit from the insurance. We have artificially constrained our public employee health plan so that, of course, it is losing money because they have limited the insurance pool and they are restricting benefits rather than acting like a participant in the market and selling insurance to more people. That's how you spread risk. That's how you fund healthcare. And so I think it's a fiscally prudent thing to do. I think a lot of Republicans have told me, in fact, Republicans have advocated for this. I mean, reasonable, moderate, practical Republicans have said selling public employee insurance to a broader marketplace will solve these problems. So we think it's a good bipartisan solution. It makes good sense and will deliver better health care to the people of the state.
Yeah, I think all of that is likely true. But and also just for clarification, it's not just for public employees; it's for their families, their spouses and children, and retired public employees now. And for the audience, the Blue Ridge Breakdown has kind of an interesting audience. We have a lot of in-state and in Appalachia listeners, a lot of national listeners too. So for people who don't know, outside of Appalachia and West Virginia is the 2018 teachers strike that launched off really here in West Virginia. It was in large part, it was very much in large part about the fact that the PEIA premiums were increasing faster than the wages for teachers. And what that translates to is a pay cut, right? And that's true of any public employee or any,
Absolutely.
and which goes to, and I think we'll get to this in a little bit. I mean, it's the main issue. It's the issue of affordability and the issue of also competition, right? This would allow people who could only buy their health insurance through the marketplace to have a third option. And wow, the free market at work, and so it works for me. Now, I will say my preferred solution is a federal, for lack of a better phrase, Medicare for all plan. Just simply expand one of the most popular programs in history, make some adjustments so that reimbursement rates don't sink rural hospitals and things like that. But I don't see that happening in the near future, and these are problems that you can't put off for a decade. The people who are on these programs and need their care may likely be dead by then. So with all of that, what are aside from the fact that we have a supermajority in the West Virginia legislature against anything that expands public programs, what do you see as sort of the hurdles to getting this through?
Well, I don't think there are big hurdles to getting this through. I think that there are a lot of moderate Republicans who see the value of this. They know there's a public mandate to save these public employee benefits. We're talking about law enforcement officers. We're talking about, people who are, veterans and a lot of dedicated community leaders who benefit from these programs and their families. There's a strong political mandate in West Virginia and all over the country for keeping public employee benefits good, keeping them solvent, keeping them strong. And there is also very little appetite among Republicans to spend public money on that. Well, this is a kind of a market-based solution. We're going to the market. We're saying, sell more of this insurance. In the private sector, they have a saying, grow or die. Now, there are problems with that saying, and I believe in Louis Brandeis was fond of discussing the curse of bigness. And the answer to society's problems is not limitless capital growth and agglomeration. But there is some wisdom, especially in the insurance setting, of saying you got to bring more people into an insurance plan if you want it to be a solvent plan. So that's what we should do. I think there's a lot of bipartisan interest in this. It's a good, sensible solution that actually saves these public benefits without demanding a whole lot from the public fisc. So I think this is not only like a good solution to improve and expand public health insurance, but it's the most fiscally prudent thing to do. I think there are a lot of Republicans and independents and moderates and just practical business people and others who will see this is a good deal for everybody. We need this to happen. We cannot actually afford anything other than expanding the sales of public employee benefits. This is really the only way to solve the funding challenge for public benefits. And I think it has a lot of appeal. So, we'll see. But I wanted to introduce this. Let me say something else in response to your comments there about Medicare for all. The way that national health insurance developed around the world is through a patchwork system. There were state, like in Canada, my understanding is a lot of the provinces developed their own kind of locally oriented public health insurance system, somewhat akin to what we're talking about here. And as those systems succeeded, and as they served their public in their provinces successfully and provided good, affordable health care, there became more of a mandate to expand that model. So this is, getting back to Louis Brandeis again. I'm a big fan. I actually attended Brandeis University. I believe in Louis Brandeis. And one of the things he wrote about was the states are laboratories for democracy. This is a good laboratory experiment proving the concept of public option. This is basically a mini public option that is focused on a state level, allow us to fine tune this concept and see if it meets these needs. It makes sense on paper. It makes sense. Public employee benefits have worked well. They're very popular. Let's expand this model, sell the insurance more broadly, see how it works. If it works well, we can grow it. If it doesn't work well, we'll go in a different direction.
Yeah. I mean, that makes perfect sense to me. To your point, yes, Tommy Douglas, who is the Prime Minister and House of Commons member up in Canada and Saskatchewan, is considered the father of the Canadian health insurance program. And for all what people hear about, oh, in Canada, your wait times are this long and people die before they can get treatment and all that, he is still the most popular Canadian historical figure widely. He is still considered because it worked. Because it worked in Saskatchewan, which is a rural province, not unlike, similar challenges as to West Virginia. And then it was able to be adopted across Canada. So that's thing one I wanted to comment on to what you just said. And thing two, and I think it really bears stating explicitly, is that part of the problem we are facing with the PEIA is that we have more public employees on the retiring side of everything than we are hiring young, new public employees and expanding these systems. And that's where you end up with real problems in insurance. I mean, this is why sometimes I always want to warn people against the idea of what I call Medicare for all who want, or what Pete Buttigieg called Medicare for all who want it, is you really start running a risk that the only people on that program are the sickest and the oldest people who the private insurers are purposely blocking out and pricing out, and then it just becomes a massive. But that's not what we're discussing here either with the PEIA. And so, for young people who go ahead.
Well,
Please.
the way we avoid that, the legislature's already clued into some of this because they are, well, the legislature and the PEIA governance board has already announced that for the there are already private employers in PEIA, nonprofits. And they're announcing a new rule that the only way you can stay in PEIA right now over the coming year as a nonprofit is if you get a certain amount of participation by your employees in the plan. So you can't just, as a private employer, you can't just let your sickest employees be on the plan. They want everybody to be on this plan if you're going to participate, so that you can have those kinds of participation thresholds. So make it a good deal for employers to lobby their employees to participate in this plan. That is, so, there are, that's part of the way this will work, is if it's an employer-based system. If we allow, I'm in favor of allowing individuals to purchase PEIA coverage as well, but certainly you could conceptualize it in stages. You could expand this to private employers, which we already do allow private employers into this plan. And if those private employers only get to participate when they bring a majority of their workforce along with them, that builds a good payer base. It builds a good premium base, a rate base for this plan, so to speak, so that you have revenue, you have plan solvency.
Right.
And once you expand it in that way, you can afford to provide better benefits, and you can afford to provide better coverage to the broader population. So, you could see that the PEIA expansion may proceed in some stages so that you can build a solvent business with it. And once you have that, you can afford to do everything you want to do with the broader enrollment. So this is a it's a way to solve all of these problems in a judicious and an effective fashion, step by step.
And I mean, there's an added perk of that money that we're spending on premiums is more or less staying in the state at that point. It's not going to Stephen Helmsley's, fourth golden yacht or a helicopter or anything like this. It goes right back into the system that we are funding for each other. And, if there's one thing that at least in rhetorically Republicans and Democrats agree on, is that we care for our neighbors. We actually love our neighbors, and we want to take care of our neighbors. And then you get into the conversation of whether that's socialism or not. And I would say, no, I think it's actually just that's just good government, good society. That's just caring about each other. And frankly, I think it's one of the strongest things we have in West Virginia. I will say, because it is coming up, that the PEIA is the board is hitting the road right now. They've already had one public hearing a couple of days ago. There's another public hearing. I'm going to say this even though I might not have this video out for anyone to notice, but tonight at November 6th at the Beckley Raleigh County Convention Center, November 10th at the Holiday Inn in Martinsburg. I plan on being there. That's this upcoming Monday. November 13th in Charleston, November 17th in Morgantown, and November 20th, there's a virtual town hall. All of the events have registration at 5:30 p.m. with the public hearing starting at 6. So with that, everything that Sam and I have just talked about, it's a great time to go and tell I'm sure your lawmakers will be there if they're responsible. And definitely the PIA board is interested in real solutions here, Sam.
Can I say something about that?
Please
because
do.
Opening PEIA more broadly would probably require sooner or later some legislative involvement. But there's something else we can ask of the PEIA board to endorse that does not require legislation necessarily. And I've written about this also. Last year, I had a piece that was called West Virginia Must Innovate on Healthcare to Become Economically Competitive. And I'm referring there to a program in the Affordable Care Act, which is called the Section 1332 program, or the State Healthcare Innovation Program. And what that is, it's basically a reinsurance plan where the federal government, in order to save money for the ACA marketplace subsidies, for the premium tax credits, the federal government will pay private insurers for any high dollar claims. So this is what reinsurance is. It's like a second insurance pool to cover the cost of high dollar claims so that the private insurance carriers don't have to pay for any claims that are over, say, $100,000 or $150,000. And the federal government is interested in paying for those claims because the amount of the subsidy is pegged to the amount of the premium. And so if they can bring down the premiums, they're saving money for the federal government. So the ACA has created this marketplace where the federal government is interested in helping private insurance, which could include PEIA. The federal government wants PEIA premiums to be lower. They want to see those coverages improve. And so if West Virginia simply asks for it, they can receive federal money to cover all claims over $100,000 or $150,000, which will enable PEIA and every other private insurer in West Virginia to reduce their premiums. And we really need to do that. Every other state around us has done that. It makes so much sense. It helps everybody. It makes everything more efficient. And it will be a way for PEIA to improve its quality and improve its financial health. We should do that, and that will be a step towards right sizing the balance sheet for PEIA and health insurance generally in West Virginia. And we can ask people, we should be asking PEIA Finance Board at these public hearings to call for that. They could call on the state of West Virginia to create a 1332 plan, to create a reinsurance pool, and it's all paid for by the federal government, so it really won't cost West Virginia anything. It's all upside. That's why every other state has done it, and we should do that in West Virginia as a step towards opening PEIA and improving health insurance for all.
Yeah, I mean, it's another one of these things where I go, wow, what a bonkers system of health insurance and everything we have in this country. But while we are working with this system, let's try to improve let's make things better. Let's try to make things more affordable. Let's try to get people, reduce the barriers between people and the care they need. So yeah, that's great. But again, I'm sitting here and I'm going, man, how convoluted do we have to get with this? And I'll say that I don't think a lot of younger people realize this, but West Virginia has tremendously benefited because we actually, people think of us as a very, very red state, but we had a Democratic governor at the time, and we accepted the ACA Medicaid expansion and all of this, and that has allowed us to become one of the states with one of the highest insurance rates in the country. The problem being, of course, that all of those costs keep on climbing. Far too many people need Medicaid because they are paid too little. I think that's a good time to pivot to the broader conversation of this is really one plank of three main things that I've seen you very adamantly promoting as the core things that West Virginia Democrats need to be fighting for at this moment in time. And I fully agree. I will say we always need to raise the minimum wage too, to make these other things more valuable to everybody. But affordable health care for people, affordability, child care that everyone can actually use and is affordable also. I'm not sure if you've been calling for universal child care or just in any case, I'll let you talk about this more also. And then the third one being, and we saw this in Georgia on Tuesday, really resonate with voters, where for the first time since 2000, a Democrat won a statewide race, and two of them won statewide races for the Public Service Commission that Georgia elects. That we definitely need to move to a model of electing our public service commissioners, in my opinion, but not by small margins. 60%, voters came out and said, whatever you think about Georgia, we want these people in because they're going to do something about our damn utility rates. So in the absence of a question there, you want to pick up and run with that, because I think these are really I think these are top line issues for every West Virginian.
Yeah, absolutely. So we put the cart before the horse with this conversation. If you have the ability to snip things and put them at the front, let's say there is a massive crisis. Troy, there is a massive crisis of affordability in this country. And healthcare is unaffordable. Childcare is unaffordable. Utility bills are unaffordable. Wages are too low, and the government needs to play a role in enabling people to overcome that unaffordability. We have to act collectively somehow to reduce the cost of living. We got to start this conversation in West Virginia starts with health insurance, because health costs are so crushing, so much higher in West Virginia. We're losing hospitals. We have a crisis that affects every West Virginian, regardless of your income. And so solving public health care is essential for every West Virginian. That's why this conversation has to happen now. And so we led the conversation today with public employees healthcare, and maybe we can excerpt this, put this at the beginning of the conversation. This is why we got to get to the public option, or the public employees health expansion, but that alone will not solve our problems, because, like you say, what I know nationwide is the case here. We must guarantee affordable childcare for everyone. Now, some people can afford childcare. That's really very few people. I talk about guaranteeing affordable childcare. Guarantee affordable childcare. It's because if you can afford it, more power to you. But most people cannot afford. We've got the government job is to sort of some basic norms in society, and government should guarantee. If you need childcare in West Virginia, you're going to get it, and it will be affordable. And so to me, that means a combination of subsidies and vouchers, or whatever we need to do. We can figure out the mechanism to ensure that childcare is available and affordable. That's what I think you need. That's what universal childcare really means. Doesn't mean free childcare for millionaires. I think some people are adverse to that, and I understand a little bit of why. We can do it, but most people cannot afford $1,600 a week for childcare, and that's what it costs if you got 2 kids in childcare. It is crazy. I mean, in some, or hell, a lot of. I mean, even in rural areas in West Virginia, the unsubsidized cost of childcare is close to $500 a week, for depending on your situation. But we have to address those things, and utility bills are right up there with healthcare costs. Now, of course, we're always pushing to improve wages. I believe the best way to do that is organizing more people into labor unions. So government has a role in that. That's really more of a federal issue, streamlining the National Labor Relations Board, improving federal labor laws so that unions have a shot at fair, due process in the organizing drives. I believe we're seeing more union organizing through the Starbucks Workers United, which is a phenomenal effort that is already yielding success in West Virginia. We have organized baristas in West Virginia who are courageously pushing up the value of the compensation of high value service labor in West Virginia. We got to do more in terms of organizing, but government needs to meet us there, meet the labor movement there by reducing the cost of living, so that it's not all on the shoulders of union contracts to make life affordable. The union contracts can only increase wages so much until we bring down the cost of healthcare, until we save our rural healthcare system, make childcare and utilities affordable. A union contract is never going to be able to deliver enough for people to really live on. So we need a balance of all of these things.
And by the way, neither can small businesses oftentimes. This is part of the competition that they have. They can't offer the same insurance programs that the big, multinational can in West Virginia to their employees. That makes it they're not able to compete for the same labor that they may need. And beyond that, what you're saying is something that's come up again and again and again as I've done these interviews with Tom Hartman, with Nancy Altman, and basically the recurring theme is that there were 3 major things that built the middle class, which was a policy decision in America. It did not vibe into existence or anything like that. These were policy decisions that we made, and the erosion of the middle class are policy decisions that we are making. And the 3 main things are we instituted the minimum wage with the New Deal. The Supreme Court allowed a minimum wage to be implemented, right? We created Social Security, and through the 60s, Medicare, Medicaid, all of these things. And we had strong union protections. And these three things really correlate very closely. I mean, it's always hard to say causation, but correlate very closely with not only the most prosperous times in America's history, but the most prosperous times in Appalachian history. And the only problem with all of this is that we didn't necessarily capture the wealth as our workforces were producing the wealth, and it was flying out of the state to inflate Wall Street profits and all of this. And now I think we're seeing a very similar type thing happening as data centers come in, and we're expected to do sort of the 21st century version of extractive industry of all of our information and everything, and forfeiting our land and all of this for profits for Silicon Valley and Wall Street again. I interrupted you though, and I want to let you keep on going if you.
Well, no, I mean, look, I agree with you. The Republican Party has made a decision to obliterate the middle class, and that is having ripple effects all over this world, because as the American middle class declines, the global supply chains decline, and value for working people all over this world declines. And we're having a global concentration of wealth because of just, Republican decisions in America to damage and really destroy the middle class.
And I'm willing to say there were a lot of Democrats who have gone along with some of these decisions over the years. There's been a lot. Mistakes were made.
So absolute mistakes were made. No, I'll tell you who made. There specific Democrats made mistakes. We don't need to go into where all those bodies are buried, because we're focused on the future. But here's this
exactly
the point. I really like James Tallarico. He says, forget about Democrats and Republicans. Those distinctions don't matter anymore. There's not a left versus right divide in America. There is a top versus bottom divide in America. And that is the truth. And that's been going on with globalization and, privatization of public services, deregulation of airlines and utilities and railroads for decades. The top has been attacking the bottom, has been destroying the middle and attacking the bottom. And that is really the crisis of our generation. I was born in 1984, and that was just when they began deregulating airlines, privatizing and deregulating railroads, and that was the beginning of the destruction of the middle class in America, and it's just spread out. And I mean, I represent coal miners for a living. We have seen the absolute obliteration of retirement security for industrial workers in America. Billions and billions of dollars in working class wealth that was bound up in retirement health care and pension plans is gone. It's just gone. And my generation and the younger kids are not going to college, and they're not buying houses, in large part because they have lost the inherited working class wealth that would have been the down payment on a house, or been the principle for supporting the private side of college tuition. So you're totally right that we have to go back to fighting for unions, and living wages. The affordability crisis is a gateway towards addressing these things, though, because I think we're in a crisis, and we need immediate solutions. And without any legislation, West Virginia can take really significant steps. Draw down those ACA funds to provide reinsurance. That will immediately reduce the amount we pay in premiums for health insurance. That will enable PEIA to afford to offer profitable insurance coverage more widely. That will create a genuine public option in West Virginia. That will be a model for other states. And that will very rapidly, like it did in Canada and other places, increase coverage, save rural hospitals, and, balance the books of households and small businesses, so that the whole nation can proceed on a healthier fiscal basis going forward. These things are urgent. They have to happen now. We've got the tools to do them, and that's why I'm here talking with you. We must demand that the Public Employees Finance Board and the legislature move us in this direction. There's really no other choice.
Yeah, and what to re-emphasize what I was saying earlier, these are really jobs programs too. These are things that, if you want to talk about freedom, these are the things that actually give people the freedom to decide what if they, now they can have an extra dollar to decide what to do with, rather than having to decide whether to pay for health insurance premiums or the heat or this medicine or food or any number of things. And I will just say, every single thing that is coming down from the federal government right now, pretty much without exception, is not only hurting West Virginians, but is hurting West Virginians worse than pretty much any other state. Whether it's the SNAP seizures right now, whether it's the ACA premium credits, and Social Security disability rules that they're talking about changing, we are far and away taking it harder than everyone else. And we need state leadership. Well, frankly, we need representation at the federal level who will stand up and say this is unacceptable. But beyond that, we need our state leaders to be able to do the right thing here. And to your point about, it's not red state versus blue state. It's not boomer versus zoomer. It's not black versus white or immigrant versus American. It's top versus bottom. And FDR talked about this too. And he said it's an old school, right for viewers right behind Sam's shoulder. But it's an old trick of tyrants to get the people they're suppressing, their victims, to do their dirty work for them, to do their fighting for them. And that's what's happening when the bottom 80% of every state in the union is being pitted against each other on some BS ideological lines, when in reality, what 80 to 90% of the country all have in common is that they're concerned about the affordability crisis. They're concerned about their stagnation in wages. They're concerned about if they lose their job and they're losing their insurance and all of that, right? They're concerned about what the hell to do with their children during the day so that they can keep a job, right? They're not concerned about whether that person has a Trump sign out in their yard or a Harris and Walls sign. That is not actually, it's only the national talking heads and the people who really, and the billionaires who profit from our division, who are really promoting that type of thing.
Well, we
Sam,
saw
I
it
know,
with the election results.
yeah.
I want to say we're seeing this with the election results. I mean, Democrats just swept the elections in November 2025 across this country. Rural Mississippi, rural Georgia, rural Virginia, New Jersey, which is, a purple state to say the least. I mean, Chris Christie, think of all the Republicans that have come out of New Jersey. People all over this country are saying, no, we are sticking together here at the bottom, and we are actually allied with the middle class. This is a moment where I think you're seeing the crisis affect electoral behavior, and that is significant. And hopefully it keeps up. And I think it's regrettable that things have descended into an abject crisis, but that's where we are. And this is fortunately a moment where I think the public is demanding solutions.
And that's where, it's a great place to kind of end it. And I'm not going to let you tell me how to run my program, but I am probably going to take that snippet from the middle and put it at the front and leave it where it is too. But put it there as a teaser. Real solution, Sam.
I feel like I did a bad job burying the lead here. I mean,
I buried it.
Well, the reason we're in this conversation is because we're in a crisis. And that's,
Right.
that's why we've got to get down to the nitty gritty on solutions like reinsurance plans and opening PEIA to an employer market and this kind of stuff. Now's the time. This has to happen. The systems are failing, and the Republicans are not delivering any solution. So it's our job
At any level.
At any level, and they won't, because they don't want a solution. So, but the public is demanding solutions. That's why it's important now to lift up these plans, articulate them as clearly as possible, and they really are simple. PEIA for all, guarantee childcare, cap utility bills. People understand what that means. Now's the time to do it. So thank you for what you're doing here, Troy.
Hey, thank you, Sam. And it's okay. You might have. I think I buried the lead on that. I'm the host after all. It's my responsibility how things go. But we'll both get it right next time you join. And keep up the great work. Keep up the promoting this idea. Keep up coming up with the real solutions, because that is the thing that sometimes I find that we are lacking on our side. Is we are brilliant rhetorically, we stand for all the right things, and then
Yeah.
when push comes to shove on some of these things, we don't have a good idea. We don't have the clear, simple, straightforward ideas. We end up lab testing focus grouping everything and going through every person, and sometimes the solutions are straightforward, and I think this is one of them. So, Sam, thank you so much for taking the time with me today, and I look forward to the next time with you.
Same here, Troy. I got all my instruments behind me here, buddy. So maybe we can do some picking next time. I know you enjoy
Yeah.
music.
Yes, I am. And for the audience that doesn't know, yes, I will. It is my favorite thing to do is playing music. I only do this because of all the damn crises you listed. So thanks again, Sam. We'll talk soon. Take care in the
Thank
meantime.
you. You too.